What if there were a simple number that could tell you exactly when your money will double without working harder, taking more risk, or guessing the market? This number exists. It's over 500 years old. And once you understand it, you'll never look at investing the same way again. Most people believe that building wealth is complicated, that it takes spreadsheets, strategy, and a background in finance. But sometimes, all it takes is one number. It's called the Rule of 72, and it gives you a shortcut to one of the most powerful forces in personal finance, time-based compounding. Here's how it works. Take the number 72 and divide it by the annual return of your investment. The result? That's how many years it will take to double your money. Let's say you earn 10% a year. 72 divided by 10 gives you 7.2. So, in just over 7 years, your money would double itself. Earn 6% a year? It'll take 12 years to double. Earn 20%? Just 3.6 years. It's not magic, it's math. And it shows just how powerful returns can be over time. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This rule doesn't just reveal when your money will grow, it exposes something deeper. The real cost of starting late, the danger of low-yield investments, and the secret reason why some people build wealth while others stay stuck. And that's what we'll explore next. Imagine two investors. Let's call them Alex and Jordan. Alex starts investing early, just $300 a month, earning 10% a year. They stay consistent for 30 years. Jordan, on the other hand, waits a decade. But to catch up, they invest $500 a month for 20 years. Same 10% return. So, who ends up with more? At first glance, you'd think Jordan. They invested more money each month. They played catch-up aggressively. And in total, Jordan invested $120,000. Alex, only $108,000. But here's where compounding flips the story. By the end of the timeline, Jordan's account grows to around $359,000. Impressive, right? Until you see Alex's result, $619,000, nearly $260,000 more. All because they started 10 years earlier. This is the invisible power of time. It's not just how much you invest, it's how long your money gets to work for you. Because compounding isn't linear, it's exponential. And the earlier you start, the more your money multiplies, even if you never increase your contributions. But here's the harsh truth. If you park your money in the wrong place, even decades of discipline won't save you. A lifetime of saving in low-return accounts like traditional savings accounts or low-interest bonds could leave you with almost nothing once you adjust for inflation. Because time alone isn't enough. You also need the right growth engine, and that's what we'll break down next. Let's take this rule and put it to the test. How long would it take to double your money with real investments? Start with a basic savings account. Most offer around 1% interest, if that. 72 divided by 1, 72 years. That's a lifetime. And that's before inflation eats it alive. Now let's upgrade to something more solid, U.S. Treasury bonds. Short-term T-bills have recently offered around 5%. 72 divided by 5? That's about 14.4 years to double. Not terrible, but slow. How about the S&P 500? Over the last 50 years, it's returned roughly 10% annually on average. 72 divided by 10? 7.2 years. That's a big difference. And it shows why stocks are the backbone of long-term wealth creation. Now let's add real estate. Historical returns for U.S. property? Around 8% annually, depending on location and leverage. That's about 9 years to double. What about something more aggressive, like Bitcoin? Over the past 10 years, Bitcoin's average annual return was nearly 90%. 72 divided by 90? Technically, less than 1 year. But here's the catch. Extreme volatility makes those returns unpredictable. You might double in a year, or lose half your money in a month. That's why the rule of 72 is powerful, but not perfect. It simplifies a complex reality. Some assets grow fast, but with risk. Others grow slow, but steady. The trick is knowing the trade-off and building a portfolio that balances them. But the real insight isn't just about doubling. It's about what happens after the first doubling, because that's where compounding truly takes off. Let's break that down next. Most people think doubling your money is the goal, but in reality, it's just the beginning. Because once your money doubles once, it learns how to double again, and again, and again. Let's say you start with $10,000. You invest it at 10% a year. In just over 7 years, you have $20,000. Another 7 years, $40,000. Then $80,000. Then $160,000. And you didn't invest a single extra dollar. Your original money did the work. It became a quiet machine, running 24/7 in the background. This is where most people miss the point. They chase fast returns. They jump from asset to asset. They try to time the market. But the real wealth builders, they focus on doubling over and over, slowly, steadily, and deliberately. Because if you give your money enough time and the right conditions, it will outwork you. It will outperform you. And eventually, it will replace you. That's the tipping point, where your assets earn more than your job, where you wake up richer than when you went to sleep, and your dollars become tiny employees, on the clock, even when you're not. But here's the key. None of this works if inflation steals your gains. That's the hidden enemy, and most people don't even see it coming. Let's talk about that next. Imagine you've doubled your money. You feel accomplished. You've played the game right. But then something strange happens. You still can't buy more. Your dollars grew in number, but not in power. That's inflation at work. A silent, invisible thief, eating away your purchasing power while you sleep. You don't see it on your bank statement, you don't get a notification, but every year, your money can quietly lose value. Let's say you earn 6% on your investment, but inflation runs at 4%. Your real return? Just 2%. So that money you thought would double in 12 years, now it takes much longer. Because you're not just fighting time, you're fighting erosion. This is why nominal returns don't tell the full story. You need to look at real returns, what's left after inflation. And this is where smart investors get strategic. They avoid lazy money. They avoid low-yield savings accounts and fixed income traps that barely outpace inflation. Instead, they seek assets that protect purchasing power, stocks, real estate, inflation-linked bonds, even Bitcoin in some cases. Because the goal isn't just to grow your money, it's to preserve what it can actually buy. If your money doubles, but gas, food, housing, and education all double too, did you really win? That's why understanding the rule of 72 isn't enough. You have to apply it in the real world, where inflation never sleeps. And that brings us to the most overlooked weapon in wealth building, interest rates. Let's look at how changing rates can supercharge or sabotage your doubling strategy. Let's say you buy a government bond. It promises to pay you $1,000 in 10 years. Simple enough. Now, imagine interest rates drop. New bonds pay less, but your bond? It still pays the old, higher rate. Suddenly, your bond becomes more valuable. Investors are willing to pay more than you paid, just to lock in that better return. This is what's called mark-to-market pricing, and it can turn a safe investment into a secret wealth accelerator. Let's run a quick example. You buy a bond today for $400. It pays $1,000 in 10 years. That's an implied yield of about 9.6%. Now interest rates fall. New bonds only pay 6%. Your bond still pays better. So what happens? Its market value shoots up, maybe to $600, $700, even $800. Long before maturity, you just made a profit. Not because you waited a decade, but because interest rates moved in your favor. The same math works in reverse. If rates rise, bond prices fall. But when managed well, interest rate shifts can be a powerful way to grow your wealth. Faster than the rule of 72 alone might suggest. This strategy doesn't just apply to bonds, it echoes across all asset classes. Because behind every price is a discounted future. The lower the rate, the higher the present value. That's the math. And when you understand that math, you stop guessing. You start anticipating. But what if you want exponential growth and you're willing to ride the roller coaster? That's where we need to talk about asymmetric bets. Let's head there next. Some assets don't just double your money, they explode it. Take Bitcoin as an example. Over the past 10 years, it averaged an annual return of over 90%. Using the rule of 72, that means it should double in less than 1 year. But here's the truth. That number breaks the formula. Because Bitcoin doesn't grow in a straight line. It surges, it crashes, then surges again. Some years, it triples. Other years, it drops 80%. It's not a steady path, it's a roller coaster, and most people aren't ready for the ride. But here's what makes it powerful. It's asymmetric. You can only lose 100% of your investment. But your upside? Theoretically unlimited. That's why some investors allocate a small slice of their portfolio, even 1% or 2%, to assets like Bitcoin. Because even if most of your portfolio grows slowly and safely, that tiny slice can shift the entire outcome. But here's the key. It's not about chasing hype. It's about understanding exposure and position sizing. Asymmetric assets demand caution, conviction, and a long-time horizon. And they're not just about price. They represent something bigger, a bet on disruption, on future systems, on technology that redefines how we store value. That's why Bitcoin has outpaced nearly every other asset over the past decade. Not because it's perfect, but because it rewrote the rules. Still, the future isn't guaranteed, and past performance doesn't protect you from future pain. But if you combine the rule of 72 with long-term thinking and just a touch of asymmetric upside, you don't just double your money, you change your trajectory. Now, let's bring it all together. Most people think wealth comes from hard work, from effort, from sacrifice, from grinding every day. And yes, those things matter. But wealth doesn't just come from what you do, it comes from how you think. The rule of 72 is more than a formula, it's a lens. It forces you to think in decades, not days. In systems, not luck. In compounding, not consuming. Because once you understand how money multiplies, you stop chasing quick wins. You start building quiet machines. You stop saying, it's not enough, and start asking, how can I give this dollar time to grow? You stop seeing money as something to spend, and start seeing it as a seed. Because every dollar you invest today is a silent worker, one that never sleeps, never complains, and never asks for a raise. And the sooner you plant those workers, the sooner they build something bigger than you. That's the mindset shift. It's not about doubling your money. It's about changing your relationship with time. Because time is the only thing that can't be earned back, but it's the one thing your money needs to thrive. So, don't wait. Don't overthink it. Don't underestimate what a few good decisions, made early and repeated often, can become. Because you're not just investing in assets, you're investing in amplification. Let time, structure, and strategy do the heavy lifting. And one day, quietly, your money will move faster than you do. If this video helped you think differently, like and subscribe for more stories that reveal how money really works. And tell us in the comments, what's your target return and how long are you giving your money to double? Let's build a community that values strategy over shortcuts and understands that the true reward of investing is freedom. And remember, every dollar you invest today is a silent worker that never clocks out.